Recording in progress.
Hi there, buddy. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's do this. There's so many distractions out there. Who's not distracted? Hands down. Who is distracted? Hands up. Okay, what are we distracted by? Well, okay, so around me I have a phone, two phones, screens. This is how our days go, right? And then humans, little humans, big humans. Who's got a little human that's a distractor, a cute distractor? Go ahead and put it in the chat. Any other little humans? I have Leo, my dog, at my feet, sleeping all muddy. We just got back from a nice run with a friend whose birthday it was. So that was fun. So good thing it's virtual. All right, that's how we do it, right? We get things in that are important to us. So distractions. Well, interestingly, there are some tools and there's a framework, and you can steal it from me on how I block distractions and I focus with Brain Wonder. I spent a lot of years, I've had a business called Brain Fresh for 5 years, and digging into the research and how can we find what's important to us and put it into place and not let these distractions run our world, right? So interestingly, the researchers agree that when we are distracted, we are unhappy. And there's a myth that, doing a lot of things makes us happy, or getting to the end of something, achieving something makes us happy, or a lot of money makes us happy. And none of that is truly correct. There's some caveats, of course, to all of that. But Dr. Lubomirsky, who's a happiness researcher, tells us that nearly all of us have bought into this myth. And so we're running around trying to get this happiness that this myth has told us will happen, when indeed it's not. It's the whole other way. It's just getting focused, finding what your values are, finding what's important to you. So let's do that. So again, steal my framework. It doesn't have to be confusing. But what is it like? Everyone's exhausted. You're toast, right? When I ask people like, how you doing? Like, I'm toast. And today's the day. Let's learn some long-lasting solutions. You're busy, you're rock stars, but you're also toast and tired. And there's a lot of things on your plate, no question. And typically, leaders, especially women leaders, all leaders are putting out fires every day. So it's hard to step back and be intentional about what we really want. Well, I love these lotus flowers. See the beautiful yellow flower there in the corner there. It's floating in all that mud, right? So we try to grow and flourish in cultures, and the cultures are full of things. And we'll talk a little bit about culture and how to learn about culture and what we're growing in. All that mud and muddy water is full of nutrients for the plants, and it's really important. But it's full of a lot of things that we have to understand so we know how to grow in these environments. This today is for people who want to help others. You want to feel creative. You want to have impact in this world. You want to feel like your work matters. You want a safe place to grow for you and your family and those you care about, which is challenged these days with all the rapid change that's going on. And so we still want to feel valued, that we're important, that we have a role here. And the message after message these days on the news is that we are not valued. People that are certain genders, certain races, not valued, not even allowed to have the word of their name in certain grant applications. So it's quite a time right now. And so we're all trying to navigate our environment. Again, those muddy waters. What are we trying to grow in? So today we're going to talk about the challenges that we face as women leaders when we're trying to align with what's really important to us, what we're really good at, and what's we want to see make a difference in this world. What is our purpose in this world? Where do we find meaning? How do we find a clear path? I find finances are like this for me, and that it's confusing. I'm not sure what to do. I'm trying to boil it down and do the basics, but it's still confusing. And so when I'm confused, I avoid. And so does generally most humans. So things are confusing, we avoid. And that's what's happening now with all the rapid change. We tend to avoid just taking a minute to pause. What's important to us? Where can we take action? So I built this framework. Again, steal the framework. I'm glad to share it with you. I want you to have it. I want you to have a clear way to find out what's important to you, what will bring you joy, purpose, and that wonderful feeling of fulfillment, that what we're doing has meaning in this world, that it has meaning today and hopefully tomorrow as well, that we're helping folks with long-lasting skills. So back to that culture, that muddy water we saw that flower growing in. This is a model of culture called SHINES, Three Levels of Organizational Cultures. Let's dig into this a little bit. So very commonly, like a glacier, you see the ice above the water. It's very easy to see. So I work in healthcare. When you're in a healthcare environment, you know it's a healthcare environment because you have to change your clothes. You have to put on a paper gown. You don't have to do that at the bank or something. That would be very strange. So you know where you are by what happens in the environment. You see people with stethoscopes on. For us neurologists, you see a hammer, but a clean, nice hammer for your reflexes. And so you see different things. If you're in a hospital, you know people getting wheeled around in maybe a wheelchair, a gurney, a bed with wheels. So you know you're in healthcare. And when you're in a bank, you know you're in a bank generally. Now offices have changed, so now there's slides and ping pong tables and nap rooms in offices. So that didn't used to be, and now there is. So some of the norms and values have changed over the years. But that's under the water a little bit. Maybe that is a little harder to assess when you walk in a place or when you're in a culture. And then the deepest level that really takes some time to pause and think about it is, what do we assume when we're in this workplace, and what do we believe? So those are very important because those are very deep. As you can see in this model, they're the deepest one under the water, very deep. It's hard to get to. So we have to figure out, what are the assumptions at work. So for us, for me as a female doctor, the assumption is not that I would also start a business, which I did, or the assumption is not that I would have 4 kids, which I did, or the assumption is that I would not work part-time, which I did. So, so sometimes, the assumptions are not, we just assume a person will do a certain thing, but we don't always follow the assumptions. But we have to first know what they are. What are the messages in the culture that you take some time to get to know what is being said? And the belief is that doctors don't start side businesses. Well, that's not true. They do. The belief is that people don't leave medicine when they're in their 30s, and they do. The belief is that, docs work until they're, 70. That's not true. A lot of docs change and go into different industries, or start their own business, or work part-time and do two things, or leave medicine altogether and take care of their families full time. So there's a lot of options that can happen. Our beliefs are not one, but the culture will dictate certain beliefs and share these beliefs in certain ways. So that's what's good to think about, that muddy water. What's in there? What's the message that you're trying to grow in? What are the assumptions, the beliefs at work that we don't clearly say out loud, but they're seen in the patterns at work? So you might look at your leadership patterns, your promotion patterns, the patterns of how people treat each other, how people talk to each other in a meeting. That is your culture. And you can influence culture because culture is influenced by the people that are there. So you can have your microculture, just people you see day to day. Maybe that's a smaller group than the large group that you belong to in your workplace. So we can influence culture by our actions, our values, our strengths and gifts. So what's happening again? I'm in medicine and in neurology. When women were surveyed, women neurologists, 42% were burned out. This was pre-COVID. And they were saying they don't have enough time to do their work. The environment's stressful. They don't have a lot of control over their schedule. And they're seeing gender discrimination quite commonly. So again, those beautiful pink flowers trying to flourish in the culture. What is the culture saying here? So they're seeing stress, not a lot of control. They're reporting gender discrimination in their professional environments, and that they're not given a lot of time to do their work. That's the culture that they're reporting. But on the other end, women in medicine, women in surgical, women in surgery are reporting amazing outcomes, just like these beautiful yellow flowers floating in the beautiful water. In that culture, they're thriving. Those flowers are thriving. The women docs are doing great work. They're reporting that they have high patient-centered communication. They spend time with their patients. They build a partnership with their patients to build trust. They provide the cancer-specific prevention services at a high rate, preventative care at a high rate. They're meeting the clinical guidelines. So when someone's 40, certain things should be happening. When you're 30, certain things should be happening. And the women docs were following those, and the outcomes of surgery, even life and deaths, fatalities in women surgeons were better were women, if the surgeons were women. So for all that's being said in the news these days about various patterns in the workplace, the literature suggests and shows and clearly shows in these studies that women are doing wonderful work in the workplace, in medicine as well. So can you remember that overwhelming joy the first day you went to work or the day you heard you got your first job and now you're thinking like, how am I going to get through this day? So what happened in the middle there? What happened is to the flowers growing in that muddy water? I mean, we all go through cycles, right? So growth and life goes through cycles where we were, hoping for more, but this is where we are. You feel stuck, overwhelmed, kind of frozen with what to do next. And work is exhausting. And in healthcare for women, work carries a high risk of even suicide. So it carries a high risk of burnout, like we discussed, but even suicide. But we also need to support our families and leave an impact in our communities. So what are some people choosing? Some people are choosing to build a side hustle so they have a place to grow, maybe a place to live with an interest that they have, maybe sell their hobbies. For me, I wanted to share neuroscience tools to professionals who were burning out. I just wanted to help folks so that they could be ahead and put these neuroscience tools into place so they didn't have to go through burnout, so they could find joy and meaning and build a beautiful, whole, holistic life rather than just think they're work or nothing. But some people build side hustles for coaching, sometimes for art, to have art classes or crafts or all kind of things. So it's really neat to see what's happening, but you don't have to do more when you're burned out. And then again, what is the work environment for women in the workplace and corporate and all different environments? I highly recommend this book called Fair Shake: Women and the Fight to Build a Just Economy. And these are written by a few law professors who share legal cases and showing, unfortunately, what is happening to women in the workplace, why women are no longer advancing in the workplace, and there's gender equity is stalled, and women are kind of stalled at the managerial role. And also what happens to women when they bring up inequities or even dangerous situations in the workplace. The women usually gets the fall in the courtroom. And so it's a very interesting book. It's kind of hard to digest because of the reality of the current legal system for women in the workplace who just share what's going on and then they get fired and they lose in the courts. So it's the reality. We have to deal with the reality. We do avoid in some places and just got to go under our covers for a while, but then we need to deal with the reality and make our plans. So what are our next steps? So who knows what year burnout was first reported in medicine? Go ahead and put it in the chat. It was after I was born, but not much. So guess what? 1974. So burnout's not new. We talk a lot about it lately. Burnout is a work environment issue. So some people will say they're burned out of yoga or burned out of being a mom or something. But burnout, the true definition of how it was initially described, is a workplace syndrome. And so, here we are. We live in this and work in an environment in healthcare that has a high rate of burnout. Women doctors have a high rate of suicide, 4 times the general population. So this is nothing to mess around with, right? So please seek care if you have any concerns or encourage those around you to seek care. But again, we're like those flowers, those lotus flowers growing in that muddy water. It can be overwhelming and confusing. The culture is not clear. We know that the assumptions and belief are deep under the water. But we also think like, I don't even have time to do the things I like. I don't have time for family or friends. I don't have time to do a side hustle. I don't have time for hobbies. And I don't have the confidence to put in my life what really matters to me right now because I'm just treading water, that muddy water, maybe. And it's hard to even set the priorities because it's just floundering. It just seems like I'm just putting out fires. I don't have time to even step back, take a deep breath, and figure out what I want right now. And we really don't learn about this, but work can actually help us feel important and useful in our communities. It can have positive or negative brain consequences. If you're like a white collar worker, as they like to say, somebody that maybe is on the keyboard and more of a cognitive job, certain parts of the brain are more healthy when you're thinking and problem solving most of the day. But if you live in chronic stress, that's a negative state for our body and our brain included. So we need to give the brain more support when we want to learn something like today. I hope that you had a good breakfast and that you had a cup of coffee. I have a cup of tea. What kind of tea do I have? I have like a nice, I don't know, persimmon tea or something. So, we have to also care for ourselves. Now, care for the brain. I like to think of it like a baby. You wouldn't say to a baby, like, I don't have time today. I mean, if you did, it's against the law, right? I don't have time to feed you, hold you, care for you, change your diaper. We don't do that with our brain either. Or like a puppy. Like today, I'm not going to take you for a walk or feed you. I'm busy. Sometimes we say that to our brain, right? So we have to think of our brain more like what we would with a brain with a baby or a puppy. It's not negotiable. We have to take care of it. It's up there running our whole body and running all our thoughts, our emotions. So we really need to drive our own professional growth and by also including, taking care of ourselves. So if you're feeling stuck and confused and disorganized, frustrated, we can learn, right? We're good at learning. What if you could feel empowered, creative, informed, enthusiastic, brave, courageous, valued? Sounds good, huh? I like those too. And I really do believe we ought to build a beautiful life and have meaningful work at the same time. Should not be one or the other. And it is sometimes intimidating or embarrassing to have to set up complicated well-being plans to avoid burnout and suicide risk. I mean, do we have to do this as in addition to like keeping up our license and seeing all the patients, et cetera? So it's a lot to also have this other system in place. So who am I anyway? So I'm Dr. Mary Rensel. I'm a neurologist, neuroimmunologist. I'm a business coach, a business owner. I was trained by Hello Seven, the company in the upper right, who believes in diversity of race and thought and gender. I'm a mom of four, so some of my kids are sprinkled through all these pictures. My husband's Bob there in the picture. And I love to speak at corporate. I love to speak in academic settings. I like to bring new insights and some new tools so people can live more intentionally. So that's me. So who's ready? Who's ready to hear these challenges and be that beautiful flower floating in the green, to feel empowered and creative? And the main themes, maybe not surprising, but this cultural belief. Again, that persistent belief of gender inequity is there. Also, the docs don't get business training. We just don't. I didn't take one business class in medical school. So I had to train myself and become a business coach so I could help women docs learn how to start and build and grow a business that's meaningful and can have an impact in this world. Business is not bad. Business is not the bad guys, even though we set them up like that. But did you ever drive through a town with no business? I don't think you say this is good. There's a balance and there can be meaning in business. And there's those societal factors, those societal messages that we may say culture, society, what have you, but they're influencing what is the norm or what is the right thing of the day. So, of course, we have gender disparities in opportunities, especially leadership, growth opportunities. We have lack of neuroscience strategies. We just don't go to brain school. I think we should. We have time constraints on how much time we have for our own personal and professional growth. We have uneven home responsibilities on average. You could put in the chat if you have even home responsibilities, that'd be great. It's good to be very intentional about what's meaningful to you, about sharing those things that are important. A lot of times there's lack of mentorship and people are waiting to be chosen. There's gender inequities and innovation. I went to a few innovation meetings in healthcare. Some of the meetings, if it was more of a national meeting, it was more gender balanced, not balanced necessarily, but closer. But some of the ones I went to in my institution, it was men, just very strongly men in suits, European, tight cut suits. And there was like literally one or two or three women, and I didn't know the language. So that's the thing about culture is there are certain norms in a culture, and innovation was more business focused. So that was another reason years ago that I went and got some business training, started my own business because I wanted to understand that. And in culture, we're taught to grind, work hard, put your nose down, don't look up until you're retired, and then you can have a happy, fun life. But that, life is, we know in medicine, we see people with unexpected changes in their life from medical issues, et cetera. And we have to be careful that we don't keep waiting to do something what's meaningful to us in every sphere of our life. And societal expectations of women are us, they want us to be quiet, well behaved, don't challenge. And that is seen even when, unfortunately, girls and boys, both girls and boys, are 8 or 9 or 10. They choose males as leaders. So that's pretty strong and unfortunately, really powerful. So, we have a 9-step science framework for women to feel creative and empowered. I built this. I like to call it brain vitality. You feel empowered and creative. How do we do it? Where do we start? I feel like this with finances. I need to know where to start. So I want you to feel like you can rock it, you can live it, you can own it. I mean, steal my framework, take it. I share it with you in my program called WAG. We go over this in detail because I want you to feel empowered and creative. I also do one-on-one coaching for docs who are already like, I don't know my next steps. I don't even know where to focus. Or you're like, yeah, I do want to try a business. I don't know where to start. So we can start with that too. So I help people focus. And we do that actually by finding fun because putting our brain in a fun state periodically really changes our neurophysiology or neuroanatomy. So it's really important. We cannot believe that cultural myths, like we talked about at the beginning, those myths of happiness is that you just put your nose down and work hard. It's not where you find your focus. And we talked about protecting your melon. The brain is up there stuck between your ears. There's ways we can protect it. And there's things we can do throughout our day to fine tune our energy. And that's what we learn in WAG. That's my Women Accountability Group, my membership. So come on in there. If you're interested, just DM me or email me at thebrainfresh@gmail.com. I'd love to tell you more. It's for professional women, women leaders generally, that are just looking for that next level boost or are just so stuck and overwhelmed, just not sure even what they want right now. We'll start because we go through this 9-step framework and we'll figure it out. Like I have a client right now, she's 2 months in and she finally just started the call the other day. She's like, I realize I'm the one limiting my ideas. Like I'm the limiting factor. It's just like, what am I saying is okay for me? And so it was just so wonderful that she got there. Because we have to, as coaches, we just try to pull information out or just show people their behaviors. We don't, like instruct and tell people what to do. And so it's neat when people come to their own realization because it's so much more powerful. So then we have to build support when we want to find our focus, our next steps. We have to build support to help us along the way. We have to figure out really what area we want to be strong in, what's our guardrails, where are our strengths, and then who do we keep around us that supports us? And this could be our quote unquote lazy way of getting things done is we put people around us that support healthy habits, well-being habits, and then goal setting habits. So, how do we leave an impact in this world? Because we don't like to do things that aren't meaningful, that don't have meaning to this, our generation currently or the next generation, right? We like to, make sure that what we're doing is making a difference for somebody. And that's our identity. Generally, as docs, we really want to, we get a lot of that one-on-one with patients or patients and their families. But even, as a business owner, I get that as well, where I can help people and help them expand their support so that they can keep growing and put people who are growing around them. And also to watch their anger because it makes it clear what your values are. And we figure out our values early in the WAG course because our values are a line in the sand. They guide us, they're part of our guardrails as well. They guide our actions. And then how do we build our courage? Because in order to make a change, to take action, we have to feel courageous. Now, it doesn't mean we're not afraid, but we do feel a little bit courageous. And so we have to be willing to take that step. So how do we start? Well, we're going to focus on a few things. One is focus your brain to block distraction. So we learned already that distractions cause unhappiness. The myths of doing a lot of things at once and multitasking, that's a myth. So why does this matter? Because we have busy days, but we also feel stuck on taking some time to figure out our holistic life planning for our feeling like we have meaning and fun in our life and that we have good friends and we have things to do and our next steps are very clear. We want to feel that focus. We want to have control over our future. A lot of times we think like, oh, I don't have control. I have to wait till I'm retired. No, today's the day and we can gain control because every time we feel a little bit of control, our neuroanatomy changes. So we will keep taking those little steps. And that's how we build our courage because we learn about our neuroscience. We take little steps, micro steps in WAG together, one little step each week. And we keep making motions and taking actions towards our goals. So if you think of like your goal is across the river, we put little stepping stones across so we can get closer to our goals. And there's great books that help us with this. One is called Positivity, one is called The Power of Fun. And it could help us with our creativity, our clarity, our focus, because we know the book, all these happiness researchers show us that when we have focus, we feel better, we feel more happy. So how do we protect ourselves? Protect that organ between our ears. Our brain is our essence. It makes us us. It gives us our focus. It helps us feel emotions. It sends us emotions so we know what's important to us. Emotions can be guides. to help us feel and know what's important to us. We can always see the emotions, just notice them, and then put a pause. Say, what is our body, brain trying to tell us with these emotions? And then we also have to make sure we're watching our attention. Who are we sharing it with? Think about it like it's like $100. Like, do you share it with everybody all day long, or do you protect it? We have to protect it to decrease our risk of burnout. So we want to prime our brain so it can feel creative and empowered. And then the last one is fine tuning your energy. So how throughout the day can we rebuild our energy? Can we recharge real quickly? Because everyone's busy, right? We can't have magical thinking that we can work 18-hour days and everything will be fine. We don't have to eat or sleep or go to the bathroom. It's ridiculous. But that's what a lot of people think. Like they're unique. They don't have any biologic needs. It's not right, right? So we have two systems. We have parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems, part of our brain, part of our body systems. And our parasympathetic is our rest and relax system. Our sympathetic is our focus, get it done system. So we need a little bit of both throughout the day. When we're trying to get our tasks done, we're mostly in sympathetic. But if we take a minute and we go in parasympathetic, it will help our perceptions. It will help us get our work done. So we need to take 10 or 15 minutes a couple times a day. A book called Resonant Leadership. Dr. Boyatzis shares that with us. It's really important because we want to get that clarity, that focus, that creativity to get our work done faster so we can get out of work, right? So you want to focus your brain, your creativity, and your empowerment. So this is how we can do it. We can be like those beautiful lotus flowers. What would you say if you're red, yellow, or green in these? Okay. So Brain Wonder, we can focus. We can help you build support. We can help you make sure that you feel like your work is leaving an impact in this world. You can be that beautiful lotus flower floating in the water. And here's what we learned. We know that culture matters. We know that that muddy water we're all growing in matters. There's a lot of parts in there. There's assumptions, there's beliefs. It's important to know them. It's important to know that we can influence them. And that we know that Brain Wonder can help guide us when we're in a high risk profession. There are challenges, no questions. And most of our colleagues are in emotional distress, and that's contagious. So we have a synchrony of emotions with people around us. We have to be careful that we're not always taking on the emotions of others. We can notice it, but we don't have to take it on. We can say like there's a pool or a moat around us and we see it, but it doesn't have to come in to us. So we have to be intentional about that as well. But there's solutions to help us find meaning, help us find purpose. And we don't have to wait to be chosen. We don't have to wait to tap down the shoulder like now it's your turn to be the leader. We can drive our own growth. We can feel vital. We can rock it ourselves, right? So we can learn to focus, get support, and to leave an impact here. Okay. Move this over so you can see it. So you have a choice. You can take action or you can leave things the way it is. You can maintain. You can take a picture of the QR code to learn about my programs. And we can just have some time. We can take a break and just kind of look out like what's important to us right now. What are our values? What are our strengths? Where do we want to go? What's ahead for us? And that's what we do in WAG, my Women Accountability Group. And the good thing is adults can learn. Adults can learn new skills. We can gain new strengths. And these are some studies showing us that we can have 40 to 75% improvements by also building the emotional intelligence. So what is meaningful to us? We have to get down to that meaning, those values, that purpose. Then we stick with things, right? So and these are older adults, 45 to 55. These are people potentially getting their MBAs, et cetera. So we have to be careful that we know what is meaningful to us, or otherwise we give up. So these studies are showing us people will give up if it doesn't mean anything to them, but they'll stick with it if it means something to them. And why do I do this? Because I believe in humanity. I believe in the power of women in communities and helping communities. I want to help, and I wish I had these skills way earlier. And I want to share my framework with you because it's helped me a lot. And it's helped a lot of my clients. Just open up new insights, open up new pathways, open up new ideas. So it's really exciting to see somebody who's just like, I don't even know what to do next. Everything's a mess. You know, and realize like, oh, wait, I'm my limiting factor. I can do what I want. Like it's just amazing to see people get that insight. So join us. WAG is open right now. I have 3 spots open. So jump in. It's the first 3 that get in there. It's for professional women. It is a monthly membership. We have weekly, really micro goals. We have a check-in on Thursdays at lunch. We have a monthly We have a monthly master class, and then we have each week what to do with that. So we're always continually learning and flourishing. And then you have access to all these lessons. I have audio only versions. So if you just want to take me on a walk and take it with you, you can do that. And then there's all these worksheets and handouts and all the resources. I always share all the books and the podcasts that I love in there. And so it's all in an app, or it'll come to your email, whatever you like. Okay, so you think about it. I'd love to have you. I have 3 spots opening right now. All right, so if life is flying by and you're just not sure where you're going to find that peace of mind, especially today with those rapid change, the news is just constant change right now, and it's really threatening our well-being. All this constant change. So we have to go from floundering or hiding under the covers to savvy and purpose-driven, from wasting energy on trying to distract ourselves, usually on our phone, to calm, purposeful energy. Have a plan. Figure out what's important to you. We don't want to be confused. We want to feel competent and like we're smartly planning our next steps. We don't want to wait for the perfect day because what in the world? I mean, life is changing so fast. We need right now to have our plan in place because it seems like so many people are stuck and overwhelmed. We cannot have that. We need to have an active community that's taking care of each other, right? And sharing all their strengths. We don't want to just want and wish things were different, but instead be informed and purposeful with our next steps. And we want to move from scared to courageous action taker. Now, when we're courageously taking action, we still have fear. It's okay. Fear is like we haven't done it before. That's our neuroscience, right? We don't have those pathways. That's okay. But we take clear, planned steps in WAG, so that we can make little stepping stones across the river towards our change. So I have action-based sessions. We clarify your values and purpose. We have monthly resources. It's about, it could be a half hour a week if you come to every check-in. And then the lessons are there for whenever you want them. But if you're feeling stuck or you just love to feel less stuck, you want to feel in control, you'd like to feel valued and to know your strengths. Because my client just did her Clifton strengths, and now we're working those. And when she has a report, like these are my values, these are my strengths, these are my professional qualities that are important to me. So we keep a report close on our desk, because we need to remind ourselves, like, you're amazing. You've done amazing things. We're going to keep growing and learning because that's vitality, is growing and learning. And there's a balance. There's a range. We don't want overwhelmed amount of change. We want a balance. We want to be purposeful in our actions. So I have a lot of promises that I will, it'll be a fun experience. It's a kind experience. It's a compassionate experience. And there's resources in the, right within the app they're at your fingertips. And then we have those ongoing learning so that you could just keep feeling like you're growing and you have a focus of the month. So just imagine a simple framework to change your communities, to live in your gifts, to build your unique journey, to build your beautiful life, and be in a supportive community. So go ahead and check out that link. I'd love to have you. Only 3 spots, so jump in before they're gone. It would be amazing. So reach out with your questions. Feel free to email thebrainfresh@gmail.com. Okay, thanks for coming, guys. So good to see ya. Have a good one.